Welcome to the Lafaya Way podcast, the podcast for people who refuse to fold in the face of adversity. Whether you're navigating personal challenges or professional obstacles, this show is a reminder that you have the power to play to win. Hey everybody, I'm really happy that you made it with us again today. You're going to learn some great stuff. I'm here with a fantastic lady today, one of my fellow co-authors of one of our books, one of the books that I've helped to write, the Advocates, the Healers, and Heeding a Higher Calling. This woman is truly she encompasses all of what that book is about. Her story is so fantastic, and I can't wait for her to share a little bit of just herself with you today, okay? Because you're going to learn a lot. All right, Lisa, the way I typically do it is I kind of have my guests introduce themselves. So you have the floor. Tell them all about you.
Okay, here I am. I am Lisa Zarcone. I am an author, a child and mental health advocate, and public speaker. I also add in now social media influencer because I'm all over social media, and I'm
Okay.
always doing my work to inspire and to bring awareness to these strong causes of child safety and mental health. Mental health is such a big piece right now, and both of
Yes.
those go together so completely. And I decided to write my own story, The Unspoken Truth, a memoir, which I can
Yes.
show you a picture of my book. I'll hold it up for you. And can you see it all well? I know it's like up and down and sideways, but I wrote my own story, my own memoir, because I was abused as a child. And my story is a very strong, powerful read. And I write my story a little bit differently. I write it from the child's perspective. So you are right in the moment with the child during the abuse. It's very raw, it's riveting and graphic at times because there was some sexual abuse involved. I wrote it that way purposely. I wrote it that way to, teach people and to let them understand really what the child is going through. And that's part of my advocacy work that I do. And then I moved forward and wrote my mother's book, The Book of Joanne. Now, this book is my mother's story. It's a full novel from birth to death and everything in between. And it shows how generational abuse and generational mental illness happens and how it can grasp onto a family and to see how a family can fall apart if they're not supported properly. So two very strong stories that are written for awareness and purpose. And again, I did this because I want people to understand the reality of what happens. And that is how I gained my voice, by breaking my own silence.
Wow. Okay, that is so powerful. Okay, so you guys, now you understand why I have her on the show, right? Because she is truly, truly taking the tough things, the tough the hands that she's been dealt, and she's turned those into gold. Like she's winning right now. She is teaching other people, she's educating, she's mentoring, she's doing all kinds of wonderful things for us out there through her books. Oh my goodness. Okay, so guys, her books will be in the show notes. So in case kind of you missed the title or you didn't quite see it with the
I know
glare,
I'm
how
holding it
this stuff
around.
works, right? We will have how you access her books in the show notes. And this is so important for everybody to know, like teachers out there, doctors out there, nurses. This is so important for people to understand better from that child's perspective and getting to understand that generational trauma. Oh my goodness, guys, like if you can gain knowledge about that particular area, there will be so many people, so many lives you might save just learning that alone. But anyway,
Wow. Well,
okay,
thank you.
Lisa, I thank you so much for joining me today. I've been excited all week about talking to you, so I'm really excited that you're here. Okay, so man, you already shared a little bit of your story before we even get started, right? And I
Yeah, it
always
just
like I
drops it a
love
little bit.
I love when my guests kind of help us kind of lead us right into where we're going. But okay, so man, tell us a little bit more, like get a little bit more in depth about your story, like how you were able to take a hand that you were dealt in life, right? And just turn that into a winner for you, even though it looks like the worst.
Yes, that's a big question, but it's such a great question because, as a child growing up and living in such a difficult environment, we had the loss of my brother. My brother passed away at the age of 9 when I was 6 years old. He was my best friend, my protector. My mom was sick right from, the beginning of our lives. So he always was that one who shielded me from the storm. And when he passed away, I was really left alone. My dad couldn't handle it and he ended up leaving us. And I was left alone with my mother to deal with all of this abuse, all of this trauma. And I was just a little girl. I was 6 years old at that time. And moving forward, I had to really learn how to read my mother. And that's interesting as a child, like watching your parent change at the drop of a hat. My mom would cycle continually, take herself off her meds. We went that roller coaster route. So years upon years, I did go through this. She brought unsafe people into our home, and unfortunately, I was preyed upon, and I was sexually abused in that time frame. And it was interesting though, as a child, like I always had this inner resilience, this inner drive to just keep going, keep fighting. I would think of my brother. I felt like he guided me in so many ways. I would try to find peace out in nature. I would take my stuff, my books, my writings, it's my dog. We would go sit under the pine trees and I would just shut the world out for a little while. And I think that was really my way of giving myself those brain breaks, trying to shield my own self and, self-coping skills and protecting myself. And as I gained, got older and went through the whole anger stage, the teenage years, of course, those are always the worst when you're angry. And I had to filter through that and find my way. But it's
Yeah.
interesting in thinking about that. I hit a pivotal point where I thought, okay, what are you going to do with your life? Are you going to keep falling down and keep, being buried in it? Or are you going to change it? And
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you want to go forward with that, how I
No,
changed.
I actually no, I actually had a because I want to just a little bit back. Like, how old were you when you first started to write? Because see, that can be a very powerful tool.
Yes. I was like 9 or 10.
See, when you
I,
were talking about it, I knew that, right? Because that's something that is actually a huge sign of resilience in and of itself. A person that can sit down as a little person and really kind of get how they express how they feel or get things up and out through their writing. I used to do it
yes,
through poetry as a
I
little
did.
girl. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to be doing this. So I'll be writing all these little poems and sending them in. I used to read Teen Magazine. I'm probably
Oh,
aging
yes.
myself,
Oh,
but
no.
I used to read Teen Magazine, and I would just send in these little poems, and they would send. I'll get these letters back, and I don't know if it's a big scam or whatever. I get these letters back, and they put my little poems into these little books that I
Isn't that
couldn't get.
awesome?
Right, I couldn't get the books because I couldn't afford them, and my parents were surely not going to get them for me. My history is like not fun either. But they're like, well, do I look like we can barely eat? Like, do I look like I'm gonna go buy a book, right? And so,
You're not getting the
right,
book. You're not getting the
right.
book.
So, dang it. But anyway, but no, that is so powerful to hear. That's such a wonderful tool, guys, out there. To if you don't have a child who already loves to write, or if you have a child who loves to write, make sure that you encourage that because that's such a
Yes.
great way to healing. But anyway, now okay, so you went into your teen years,
It
right?
is.
You were
And
having some
yes, I
struggles.
I went into my teen years and that was like a pivotal point in my life where I had to make strong, hard choices for myself. I could living the way I was living and I knew if I didn't do something that I would be stuck in this situation forever and I didn't want that. So then I started to change my mindset a little bit. Instead of just writing on anger,
Yes.
I wrote on the fact of being, productive, school, getting honors in school, thinking about college. How am I going to be productive in so many ways that I can get myself out of my own situation? And that's what I did. Dug deep,
Wow. Well,
dug deep.
okay. So, as a teenager, you were kind of headed down the wrong path, right?
I
Usually those
was.
trauma experiences cause that, right?
It's
And
true.
then at some point, you kind of hit that crossroads moment where it's like, okay, girl, what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna go down this path where that you know is gonna take you into more of your trauma, more of what you hate, right? Or are you gonna take this path where you're gonna go a whole different way? Like you're gonna be
Yes,
opposite of what it is you were raised in and all that kind of stuff. And
exactly.
and then you just made that decision and you said, no, I'm going the right path. Taking that right. I was already pointing that way. I'm
Oh
taking
yeah,
that right
I'm
path.
pushing it. But I have to tell you, it was very difficult because the mistake that I made, and I talk a lot about this, and I buried everything. I took all my trauma and all my pain, and I went completely silent. Didn't share it, didn't talk about it, didn't own it. I completely
Mm,
shut it down, and that was like the only way I felt I could push forward to be successful. And I did. I was successful. I went to college. I got married. I had my children, all these things. And I was dealing with my mother through all this process. And my mom really was very difficult. She had extreme mental illness. And I hit another pivotal point in my life. And that's why I bring this up, because I had a moment in my life where I was brought to my knees. And again, I had to make a very difficult decision. What are you going to do? Are you going to finally face your trauma? Are you going to finally say those dirty words out loud and validate it? Or are you going to get sucked up completely? And I, again, it was very, very difficult and very painful. I made that choice. Yes, I'm going to finally break the silence, because if I don't, I'm going to lose myself. I'm going to lose my family, everything I fought so hard for.
Yes.
And that's what I did. I went to therapy, and I went in there that day, and I remember just disclosing my abuse, and it came out like just blah, just like came out, and it just kept going and going. And once it came out, there was no stopping it. The Pandora's box was open, had to look at it, had to deal with it. But it was the best thing I ever did for myself and for my family, because I would have gotten sucked up into a whole nother world that probably could have cost me my life. And
Oh my
it
goodness.
was that deep, that
That
deep.
is so it's so important, right? What you're talking about right now is so important for people to hear, because sometimes when we're like going on with our lives and we think, okay, if we put all this stuff away, right? Well, we can't let this stuff get in the way of our success. So then we just kind of just truck along, right? With all that stuff still seething underneath.
True.
And it's almost like an infection, right? Sometimes we can have an infection, or people have there have been times in history where people have had infections, and maybe it kind of looks like it healed over the top, right? But that infection is still in there festering. And to the touch, like if you put enough pressure on it, you know that there's still something going on underneath there, right?
Yeah,
And so,
exactly.
and then and eventually you're getting maybe even more sick, more and more sick, right? And sickness can display itself when we're making the comparison to that in life. Right, it can now start to portray itself in our relationships, us having relationship struggles, struggles with our children, struggles with our spouses, right? All struggles, even at work, on the job, in our businesses, easily
True.
triggered, right?
Yeah,
And all
true.
these things are happening. And so until we get to a place to where that it's identified, hey, there's something going on underneath here that is causing a sickness that maybe is not easy to identify, right? And then once it's figured out, then to cut that open, it sounds gross, right? Go in and have cut that open, which hurts more, because it
Did.
hurts more to have it heal over and then cut it open and then kind of dig all that mess out, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so, and that's exactly what you did, is you said, okay, I'm not going to just keep like doing the whole like halfway healed approach, and it's not even halfway healed because you're getting sicker and sicker. Now I'm going to do the hard work and
Right.
get to my true healing. So
And that's the truth. I called it taming the beast.
yes,
That's
okay,
exactly the term I used, call it taming the beast, because it was such a beast to overcome. And there was so many layers and so much stuff. And it does filter out into your everyday life. You don't realize it until you really look at it. The triggers, the reactivity, choices that you
yes,
make, impulsivity, all those things come from unresolved trauma. And if you don't
yes.
face it and you don't address it, it doesn't go away.
And
The
how about that background, that stuff that really gets us, that the stuff that we can't quite put a name on it, that background anxiety that
Yes,
just sits in the chest or sits
right.
wherever you hold your pain. It sits in the chest, or it sits in the stomach area. And some people, we identify things this when you get to some of the mental health stuff. Like you end up, you can get a diagnosis of anxiety or a diagnosis of depression or those kind of things. But having those things fester underneath causes like it's like this background, almost like constant noise like going
Right.
on inside of
Yeah.
your body. And
It's
we have to,
yes. The
yes, we
static.
have to
I call
wake
it the
up.
static.
Yeah,
It's
that perfect word. Okay.
it's
And
static.
we
And you're
have to
right.
tune in to that static and understand, okay, where is this coming from? Because even though I'm trying my best to live my best life, there's still something off. There's still something off about the way I respond or react. Because, right, we want to learn how to respond
Exactly.
versus react. The way I
Exactly.
react to things, right? I have the smallest little, like, we're out there road raging. Like, we're good. We try to be good all day, positive listening, and we're out there road raging.
That's
Or,
true.
our spouse can say something to us and we're like, ah, bite off the whole head. And, or, kids can't really be kids, things like that. So, really tuning in and understanding where these challenges come from.
Right. Yes.
So important. Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's
So
such,
you
it's very important work. Yes.
so you
Very
went so
important
you
work.
so you started therapy,
I
you
did.
jumped right in, you kind of start to purge and get all that stuff that had been in there just up and out. And
I
then
did.
what was next?
I'm going to tell you that the next part that was even more difficult was sharing with my husband what happened to me because we were married 10 years, 3 kids in, and he didn't know. He
Wow.
didn't know. I mean, he knew my mom. Obviously, he knew my mom, and he knew her mental health struggles because they were really extreme. I mean, it was bad. And he knew some of the things I went through, but he didn't know the depth of the sexual abuse I went through. He didn't know the depth of what my mother actually did to me because I was so silent. And it was a bomb. I dropped this bomb on my husband. Mind you, again, 3 small children. I'm trying to heal from trauma and really trying to listen to my own voice saying these things and really like, validating it to myself, saying this did really happen to me. This is my truth. As I call my book, The Unspoken Truth. This was my unspoken truth. Now I had to give it to my husband. And
Yes.
God bless him. He was devastated, obviously. He even said to me, Lisa, do I even know you? Who are you? And, valid question.
Right.
And did I know who I was? Really? There was pieces of me. And that's what you talk about, those pieces inside that fester. It
Yes.
pulls you apart. It pulls you in different directions. And you have to become whole once again. And the only way you can do that is by breaking the silence, facing it, doing the work. The most
Yes.
painstaking, horrible work you will ever do, but the most gratifying and amazing journey to go on.
Yes. Now, see, this is the thing. Guys, it feels like it feels like it's too much. Feels
Mm,
like too much work. Feels like too much pain. But guys, think about it this way. Like, I know the ripping the band-aid off, right, is way too light of an analogy to use, but think about it. Think about those slow, if you don't deal with this pain in a significant way, right, then you're just slowly but surely going through pain for years and years and years and years. And even though it may not feel like that particular pain is as significant as the pain of facing what it is that happened to you, right? Is this lingering, it just causes just this long term pain in your life that you really have the power to get up and out and get to some true healing, right?
right,
These little pains, this is like being sick for a really long time, as opposed to, right, or maybe having that broken leg that you never get, you never go to get it addressed, right? So now you have this limp and this pain for your entire life versus getting that thing reset, which is way more painful at
right,
first, right? And then allowing that true healing, so now you can really walk again without the
right.
limp and without the forever pain.
What
It's
a great
so important.
analogy. You're right.
Yeah.
That's such a great analogy. And I always tell people when you do this type of work, you have to take it in small doses. Start at the beginning, go back to your childhood, start at the beginning, take it small pieces at a time. And when it's too heavy, you put it down and then you pick it back up. Healing comes in many, many stages. Writing my story, I had to tap into those old core memories as a child being abused to produce this type of story and book that I wanted people to see and read. I wanted people to know the reality, not some sugarcoating of things. I wanted them to be raw and in the moment with me. That's
Yes.
how I wrote it.
Yes.
Very difficult, but so healing. When I
Yes.
finally finished this book and put it out there for the world to see, I was like, wow, now people know. Now
Yes.
people know the reality, but also now people know they're not alone. That was a
Yes.
huge thing for me when I put this book out there. It wasn't just about me breaking the silence, which of course that was huge, but it was also about letting other survivors know they're not alone. We've walked this path together, not realizing how many of us there are.
Right.
It's just really was just so important to me to do this.
And how important is it to recognize now? Because sometimes we can go through things that are so horrific that for that why will just ring in our minds, like, why me, like, how is it even possible that this would be allowed to happen to a little person, like,
Right.
what kind of world is this, right? But when there we can find and get some purpose attached
Yes.
to our pain, that is such a huge part of our healing, right?
It is.
And it creates this like it creates some at least some kind of meaning behind it.
Yes,
And I'm not saying that these things are okay, right, to have happen to us,
right,
but to know that we're able to help other people, right? That my pain actually may touch a younger person, right? They'll get there faster
yes,
because of my share. They'll be able to break their silence faster because of my share. They'll be able to really know how to really to express what pain it is they're going through
right.
in
And to
a deeper way.
realize, yes, and to realize like you're going through this. Yes, you may have put it to the side, you may be hiding it, but it's always going to be there. I even did some extra healing work where I looked through the eyes and the perspective of my abusers, walked
Mm.
their path to understand how it fell apart for them and how it fell onto me. And that
Oh,
was deep, deep work. And of course, it took a lot of time. And there I found such forgiveness for my parents because I understood how it fell apart for them and what they both went through. And I even did this work with my sexual abuser, which was really difficult. Can I say I found forgiveness? I'm going to say not really, but I found understanding. I actually found compassion and empathy for his younger self because as a child, he was severely abused. He had mental illness that was not, addressed. And unfortunately, all his damage fell onto me. So I did find empathy for his inner child, for what he went through. I couldn't find forgiveness for him because he went on to abuse so many other people after me. And it went on for years and onto his children until he committed suicide. And
mm.
that to me, when I think of all these people that, it's his family members that went through the same pains as I did, was very difficult. But I did find some empathy there. I found forgiveness to my parents. I understand why it all fell apart. It's just unfortunate it fell onto me. I was the innocent victim.
You know what's huge in all this is that you found your measure of forgiveness, because forgiveness happens in measures too,
Yes,
right?
I agree.
Um, and so it's so important because if you were able to find any level of empathy towards even his younger self, his child, or the grown up who had to come from that child, right? Then
Right,
that is a measure of forgiveness that allows you to be more true to who you are. Because sometimes when we're not those people who want to be filled with hate, right? Most and
right.
actually, I would venture to say none of us are. Some people just don't know it,
I
right?
agree.
But right, but when we're people who don't thrive off of, don't desire to hold a lot of darkness and you know what I mean in our
Right.
heart and hatred in our hearts, to be able to find a way to find our measure of forgiveness
Yes.
towards those who have done us wrong, done us and many others, wrong,
Right.
is so huge because it makes you all that light that you're seeking now. You're able to get that. You're able to capture that
Yes.
and have that within yourself without having those dark pieces,
Stuck.
looming, right?
Yes, those dark pieces keep those fragments is what keeps you broken. And the more
Yes.
you heal those things is the more you become whole again. And now being, feeling that light, now it's shining light onto somebody else. And hopefully that they can, I always hope that someone else is going to get to where I am on my healing journey because it's just been amazing to do what I do now. When I look at myself now, this is never the woman I expected that I would be, an author, public speaking, abdicating. That's not something I thought about. And now when I look at it, all the things that I've been through, it
Mm-hmm.
brought me here now to the
Yep.
woman I was always meant to be. And this is a woman I'm so proud of. So proud,
Yes.
and we have to enjoy those moments and be proud of ourselves because we all work so hard.
Oh my goodness, that is so, so very powerful. I am so thankful to you today for sharing, for just more than just being here on this podcast today, but for sharing your story, because your story actually it touched me. Like I know that I still have healing work to do, right? And so
Right.
because identifying with the abuser can be a really tough road to try to take,
It is.
right? And so but it's encouraging, and it helps me to identify, hey, I have a little bit here and there that still needs to be touched upon too, right?
Of course.
So, oh my goodness, just I appreciate you so much. I know that you're
Thank
helping
you.
so many people. Guys out there, if you have not if you have not had a chance to get a hold of her book, please make sure that you do, because this is important for everybody to know. Even if you yourself have not been abused, trust me, there's probably someone you know who has, or someone coming up into your life who will have had that experience, because it's more prevalent than we all think.
It
Okay.
is. It is.
And
And
so,
so many are still in silence.
yes, yes. So it's so important to learn what we need to learn in order to break that silence, because breaking the silence breaks that breaks the power that this abuse, that this trauma has over you, and
It
it
does.
creates it creates a pathway and an avenue to healing.
And it
So
breaks the cycle. It breaks the
yes,
cycle. The cycle broke with me. Our generational abuse in my family and the generational mental illness, it broke with me because I was the one who stepped up and said, no more. I'm going to speak my truth. And again, a very hard road. I don't say these things lightly. I don't say these things and be like, oh, you're magically healed. No, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of tears. And I'm still healing. I'm still doing the work. I believe that once we've been through these things, we're always going to be working on our healing journey. And we just
yes.
keep hitting those plateaus and we keep pushing forward and we reach a hand out extended to someone else and pull them along. And hopefully they can continue working, on the things they need to do. That's always, again, the goal and the thought process.
Yes, and I know that it can sound like a tough thing, right? We're always working on our healing, right? But think about it this way. Once we began that journey, once we began that process, then we're never back to where we were, right? So at every growth point, because we're growing, and in the Bible they say moving from glory to glory, right? But we're
Right.
moving from step by step. So we started out way down here, right? And our aspirations, which we in life we never really get to our full, right, our full, but we're trying to
Always
get it
hopeful.
here, right? And so as we're healing, though, we're moving up, we're taking up a little bit at a time, so
Right.
we're always building off of that continuous growth. So, oh my goodness.
True.
I thank you so much. I don't know. My heart is full. I don't know. I'm excited about the fact that I had you here, because I know this is gonna help so many people. How do people find you, Lisa? Like, what's the best way to reach out and ask questions, or, get
Yes.
more information about what it is you do?
Yes, definitely. I always tell people to come to my website, lisazarcone.net. And on my website, you'll find a little bit of everything. I'm a blogger. I blog some really awesome articles about all of the things that we're talking about today, things in the news, all these things connected to mental health and healing and child safety. It's all in there. So go check out my blog page, and you can reach me there through my website. And honestly, I answer every single person who writes to me. I make it my mission to do so because I feel like if someone's going to take that step to speak up and talk to me, that I will definitely answer, because that means that I am listening and validating what that person, needs or wants, or is just asking those questions. I'm always available. So there's a contact page. I have poetry on there. Check out my poetry. I got, yeah, pictures from all my events and things that I do, both my books, my stories. It's all out there. But definitely, lisazarcone.net's the best way to get me. And you can see my books are there as well. So please, I hope people reach out if they have questions or if they just feel like they need support.
Or if they want to book you as a speaker, right? Because you are also an author and a speaker. So that if they want to book you for a
Absolutely.
speaking event, that's the best way to get you to. Okay,
It is.
wonderful,
You're right.
wonderful.
You're right.
Guys, we're gonna have that, of course, in our show notes too. So again, if you missed it, then just check out the show notes, and we'll show you access. Probably put a couple links in there so that you can get to her website. Again, thank you so much, Lisa, and thank you all for joining us today. Such an important subject. I wish I could talk to her forever about this, but you guys wouldn't sit and listen,
I know.
anyway. So I guess it has to come to an end. Guys, I thank you so much for joining us. And always remember, it's not about the hand you're dealt, it's about how you play it. Have a good one. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And if you're interested in learning more about playing the hand you're dealt in this mental game of life, you'll love my book, Poker, A Woman's Game. To download your free chapter today, Click on the link in our show notes or visit LafayaWayPoker.com. See you soon.